What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC 279. We have Tony Ferguson going against Nate Diaz.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another betting breakdown video this week, breaking down UFC 279. New and improved card. We have three new fights. Obviously the same six fighters, but we had Daniel Rodriguez, who was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. We had Khamzat Chimaev, who was supposed to fight Nate Diaz. We had the Leech, who was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson. And now the matchups have completely changed. Now we have the main event, 5 rounds, Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz. We have the co-main event, 5 rounds, Khamzat Chimaev, Kevin Holland. And then we have Daniel Rodriguez going against the Leech. So from a betting perspective, I am very frustrated with those 3 fights getting moved around because I had 6 units total on those 3 fights alone, and that was 60% of my action. So 60% of my action got voided, so this is going to be a very light card for me. But from a fan perspective, I'm happy about it. I think this card got much better with that. But from a betting perspective, kind of sucks because I really liked the over in the Holland fight, and I liked violence in both the main event and the co-main event. But we'll talk about the new matchups. We'll talk about the bets I have for this week. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Going to be talking about these fights from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you do want a further, more in-depth breakdown on why I like what, on why I'm betting what, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video on Thursday, and I did do a live stream on Friday as well, going into further detail, and I also did post individual breakdowns of the new 3 fights as well, so make sure you guys check out those. All right, I say we get right into it. We will start the very first fight of the night. We have Darian Weeks going against Johan Linus, and I do have a bet here. The bet I do have is Darian Weeks to win in either round 3 or decision on DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 215, and I have a quarter unit on that. I think if Linus does win this fight, it is probably him knocking out Darian Weeks fairly early on. Linus, I'm actually pretty impressed with the guy, but he's just missing one key component in his game, and that key component is his conditioning. I mean, he's getting tired. He's looking tired in the first round. Like, his mouth is wide open late first round. We saw in the second round against Gabe Green, his last fight out, he just had nothing left. He knocked down Gabe Green. They got into a scramble, and then after they went back at range, he just kind of backed up, and Gabe Green broke him and finished him late in that second round. And I kind of see the same thing here. Of course, Darian Weeks needs to survive that early storm, but Darian Weeks, a very tough guy, very durable guy. He has never been knocked out. I think it's like a combined 25 or 26 combined pro and amateur fights. He's never been knocked out, so I'm hanging my hat on that. Hanging my hat on the cardio, the toughness, the durability of Weeks, and I think he does kind of grind this one out. I'll say decision, but I do like getting that extra third round in there for that third round decision, just in case Linus does completely gas out like he did in his last fight. So I do like the Weeks side, but I'm fully aware Linus can absolutely go out there and take off Weeks' head. Linus hits like an absolute truck, but the cardio is just something I think Weeks can really capitalize on here. So give me Weeks for the win and a quarter unit, small play on Weeks to win in either round 3 or decision, plus 215 there. Next, we have Melissa Martinez going against Elise Reed. If you guys know me, you guys know that I have retired from betting on low-level fights like this, but I am coming out of retirement, sadly, to place a bet on this fight. The bet I am placing is a half a unit on Elise Reed at plus 148. It is now plus 150. The reason being is this line just did not make much sense to me. Could Melissa Martinez come back after a 3-year layoff and look phenomenal, level up over that time off? Yes, she could, but from what I've seen, I mean, I think this is a super, super close fight. You take a look at Elise Reed, and I think she's the dog because people are very low on her. People think she sucks, and to be honest, I think she kind of sucks too. But she's sucking because people are taking her down. She was taken down and finished by Eubanks. She was taken down and finished against Sam Hughes, which is a horrible look. She was taken down multiple times by Corey McKenna, but luckily, I've never seen Melissa Martinez shoot even one takedown. So Elise Reed is going to get the matchups he wants, and that's going to be a matchup on the feet. And when Elisa Reed is on the feet, she has solid power. She has solid distance management. We are in the big cage, which I think favors her. And she is going to have, for the first time in her UFC career, she's going to have the grappling advantage. We've seen Martinez taken down and controlled. On top of that, Elise Reed's fought the much better competition. It's not even close. Elise Reed's been the much more active fighter. It's not even close. I just don't really get this price tag. Like I said, can Melissa Martinez come in here after 1,000 days off and look leveled up, look phenomenal? Sure, she could. It's just we have not seen that yet. And I think people are banking on those improvements and laying chalk on those improvements just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So sadly, I took the dog shot on Elise Reed. I have a feeling I'll be very disappointed because I am like one of the worst or one of the biggest Elise Reed haters out there. But I think, styles, make matchups. And I think this is a style that she can definitely win here. So give me Elise Reed, half a unit, plus 148. All right, next we have Alateng Hellinger going against Chad and Hellinger. This is a fight I'm just going to pass on because I feel like Alateng Hellinger has a clear path to victory, but, betting on fighters that have a clear path to victory and them not using that game plan, I mean, it's bit me in the ass more often than not. And then you take a look at Alateng Hellinger. Yes, he's going to have this clear wrestling path. It's just he has 0 takedowns in his last 3 fights. Is he going to go out here and take down Chad and Hellinger? You better hope so if you're laying chalk on him, because if this fight stays on the feet, it's going to be competitive, I think, but it's going to be in Hellinger who's going to be landing more. Both guys have a ton of power, and Hellinger 3 knockdowns and only 2 fight sample. Alateng has power in his own right. We saw that in the last fight, knocking out Kevin Kroom in the first minute or so. It's a close fight, and I'm going to lean with the dog, but I think I'm just going to pass on this one because, like I said, Alateng Hellinger can make this look super easy. With the right game plan, he can make it look super easy. I just don't trust Alateng Hellinger to go in there with a smart game plan. For that reason, I think it's going to be close, competitive, and I will lean with the dog, but no bet on this one for me. Next, we have Norma Dumont going against Danielle Wolf, and this one kind of scares me. And what else scares me is one half of my action, actually. I think I have 4.25 units on this card. About half of that is on women's MMA, and I do have a bet on this fight. And after seeing the weigh-ins and face-offs, I a little bit scared off here. But Norma Dumont, she's minus 425. I mean, that's terrifying, and I'm not laying that price tag. But this is a super winnable fight, and that's why we are seeing that price tag. I mean, Norma Dumont has a clear path to victory. It's clear as day, and that path to victory is getting this fight down to the mat. The bet I have in this fight is Norma Dumont to win inside the distance, half a unit at plus 240. The reason being is on paper, she is going to have a significant advantage on the mat. If she can get this fight down to the mat, Danielle Wolf, white belt in BJJ, Dumont should have a significant advantage there. She's a brown belt in BJJ, maybe a black belt now, actually. In Norma Dumont, she's been fighting much longer in terms of MMA than Danielle Wolf. Danielle Wolf, that boxing background. And to be honest, I wasn't impressed with Danielle Wolf on the Contender Series. That was a very close fight that honestly she probably could have lost. And she's now 39 years old, Danielle Wolf. She's coming off of a 2-year layoff. Everything's lining up for Norma Dumont here. But at the end of the day, do you want to lay minus 425 on Norma Dumont? No, you don't. But if she is having success, I think that is because she is getting the fight down to the mat. And if she's getting the fight down to the mat, I think the finish is going to be super live. So, terrifying. But, I have a half unit bet on Norma Dumont to win inside the distance at plus 240. Pretty juicy prop there. I would rather much take that shot than laying the minus 425 there. But, yeah, like I was saying, the weigh-ins and face-offs kind of scared me a little bit because Danielle Wolf looked freaking huge. She looked like an absolute monster. So if Norma Dumont does struggle to get Danielle Wolf down, or if she does not even attempt to take Danielle Wolf down, she's not looking minus 425. It's probably going to look 50-50 if that happens. But I am banking on Norma Dumont having some fight IQ here, getting the fight down to the mat and finishing it. So Norma Dumont, half a unit inside the distance, plus 240 is kind of where I'm looking. Also, I don't mind the fight doesn't go to decision to kind of cover both sides there as well. I think I saw it at plus 160 still on Bovada Sportsbook. I probably should have went with that to begin with, but yeah, I'm going to stick with Dumont inside the distance there. But yeah, fight doesn't go is also a look that I did consider. Next, we have Jake Collier going against Chris Barnett. Pretty hilarious fight here. We have Chris Barnett, who missed weight at heavyweight and He was the second heavyweight in UFC history to miss weight, and he was actually has the record for the heaviest weigh-in, I believe, in UFC history. So congratulations, Chris Barnett. You did it. You have the heaviest weigh-in in UFC history. Shout out to Chris Barnett. Very impressive stuff. But I do have a bet on this fight as well. As sad as it is, I have a half unit shot on Jake Collier to win inside the distance at plus 120 here. I also don't mind the fight doesn't go to decision or the unders, because if Chris Barnett does win, it is probably a spinning attack and lands on Jake Collier. I just think that's very unlikely here. And Barnett, he missed weight, not a good look. Just a bad look there in general. And then on top of that, I just don't think Chris Barnett is UFC caliber. I think he's, no disrespect, but I think he's the worst fighter on the UFC roster. There's some very bad fighters like Chase Sherman, Jared Vanderaa, and I think both Chase Sherman and Jared Vanderaa would beat Chris Barnett. Jake Collier, he arguably beat Andrei Arlovski in his last fight. He's a good fighter. He has a lot of good tools for a heavyweight. He has solid cardio for a heavyweight. He's going to have the advantage there in this fight in the cardio. He's going to have the striking advantage. He's going to have the advantage everywhere. Size, cardio, striking, grappling, wrestling, the advantage in literally every single aspect of MMA. The only advantage Chris Barnett is going to have is probably the dance moves there. But dance moves do not win fights. I think Collier has multiple paths to finish this fight. I think he can overwhelm Barnett with volume and potentially get him out of there late. And I feel like Collier can take Barnett down. Barnett is no takedown defense. Barnett, no ground game, no get-up game. Collier, one takedown. The fight very well could be shortly after. We saw him kind of show off his ground game a little bit against Chase Sherman. And like I said, I do think Chase Sherman, although very bad, I think he is slightly better than Chris Barnett. So Jake Collier, inside the distance, sloppy fight, greasy fight. But Jake should finish this guy. Come on. All right, moving on. We have Jamie Pickett going against Denis Tuivasa. I have a bet here as well. I have Denis Tuivasa, scorecards equals no action, half a unit at plus 110. If you guys are new here, the scorecards equals no action means that if the fight does go the distance, the bet is voided. If Denis, in this case, wins inside the distance, the bet hits. And if Pickett wins inside the distance, the bet loses. The reason I do like this bet is I think if there is a finish, I do see it coming from the Denis side. Jamie Pickett, not much of a finisher, not much urgency in there. He doesn't really do anything at all. If Pickett wins this fight, I kind of see it being a grinding fight where he's holding Denis against the cage, potentially going for takedowns. But Denis is going to throw hands. He's going to try to take off Pickett's head. He's going to come forward, and he hits very, very hard. Denis, an 89% finish rate, all 89% of those coming by knockout. Could this fight go to decision? Yeah, it could for sure, especially if Pickett, does the whole non-engaging, pushing against the cage thing, which probably there's a lot of that. But at range, Denis is going to have a lot of opportunities to land a big shot and put out Pickett. So I like that scorecards equals no action, voids if it goes the distance. Also was considering a shot on Denis by knockout, plus 325. But the bet for me is that scorecards equals no action on Denis Tuivasa in there. I think if there's a finish, it is more likely than plus 110 that Denis does get it done inside the distance there, rather than Pickett. All right, next we have Almeida going against Anton Turkalj, and I saw the under 1.5 rounds earlier this week, and ended up passing on it, and it makes a ton of sense. And if you got in early, you did your job, obviously, and I think it's a good look, the under 1.5, and it's now minus 160, so I think I'm going to pass on it at this point. But Almeida, 16 wins, all 16 of them coming inside the distance. You can't really go wrong with that under 1.5, especially if you got it near even money, which I know a lot of people that did. But for me, I do have a bet on this fight, and it's one of those things where Almeida is like minus 315, minus 350 to finish the fight inside the distance, right? Like he's favored to finish the fight inside the distance. And it's one of those things where I think there's a very good chance it could be a submission. I think there's a very good chance it could be a TKO. I mean, kind of flip a coin, right? Flip a coin. Is he going to submit Anton Turkalj, who has been working on his grappling, or is he going to TKO Anton Turkalj and flip a coin, right? 50-50. I'm actually picking the knockout, and I was taking a look at the props, and I saw a line that really stuck out, and that was Jonathan Almeida by knockout, plus 360. Plus 360. and I put a quarter unit on that. So Almeida by knockout is plus 360. That is on Bet Rivers. I saw Bet Online has it on like plus 325 on Bet Online, plus 300 on Bet Online. And you take a look at the submission prop, and right now they have it minus 110, minus 130. I mean, you're paying chalk for a submission prop. Like, I think the KO is just as likely. So ended up putting a quarter unit on the KO prop, just hoping that, yes, he's going to finish the fight. Yes, he probably finishes it in the first round, but I'm hoping it is a TKO where the ref steps in rather than the sub. Could he sub him? Absolutely. It's on the table, obviously, but you're getting plus 360 on it. So quarter unit, we'll see what happens. Give me the TKO for Jailton Almeida. That's really the only way I'd play that. If, like I said, under 1.5 earlier in the week was solid, but now it's just really juiced. Moving on, we have Hakeem Dawodu going against Julian Arosa. We have Dawodu, who is minus 230. Arosa is plus 195. And Dawodu did miss weight. He missed weight by, I believe, 3.5 pounds. He looked good to me. I saw him at the weigh-ins. I was like, dang, Dawodu is in incredible shape. And then they read off the weight. And so he did miss weight, so that's something to kind of take note on. But this is going to be a very fun fight. This is going to be an absolute war. It's going to be probably one of the better fights on the entire card, honestly, and that's because it's a Julian Arosa fight. We don't often see a boring Julian Arosa fight, and I don't think that changes here. Julian Arosa is not afraid to eat one to give one, and that works out sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes he gets knocked out. He's been knocked out 4 or 5 times, 4 times in the UFC. I know that for a fact. He's been knocked out a couple times outside the UFC as well, and Hakeem Dawodu, although the finishes haven't really been there, I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities here to knock out a very hittable, very, very hittable, and a very chinny Julian Arosa. On the flip side, if Julian Arosa wins this fight, it is going to be inside the distance. He has good power on the feet. He has a good submission game. Dawodu has been submitted in his only loss. So I think the way to play this is the fight doesn't go, and right now it's still at plus money. I got it earlier in the week at plus 120. I have a half a unit on it. I think this is going to be a war. I think there's going to be multiple opportunities for both guys to find the finish, and that's because it is a Julian Arosa fight. Julian Arosa is a kill or be killed fighter. Either he's winning inside the distance or either he's losing inside the distance. I know he went to war with Steven Peterson in his last fight. I don't know how that did not finish, but I kind of expect the same thing here. I expect an absolute war with multiple opportunities to finish on either side there. So plus money for that fight doesn't go, I think, is a solid look. I have a half unit on it at plus 120. All right, Cutelaba going against Johnny Walker. Another line that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I think people are very low on Johnny Walker. Oh, Johnny Walker sucks. He's a meme, and he was a meme. He got turned into a meme against Jamal Hill, that very weird knockout loss, and I think people are really counting him out now. You take a look at his UFC career. He's only been knocked out twice in the UFC, same as Cutelaba. I think both guys are pretty chinny. Both guys can be knocked out. I think somebody gets knocked out here, and probably under a round and a half. Like the Almeida fight, I did see the under 1.5 at plus money. Probably should have jumped on there. Ended up passing because I could see this squeaking over, especially if Cutelaba does use that wrestling. But I think somebody is more than likely getting finished here early. Johnny Walker is going to be much bigger. He's 6'6". He's going to have a big reach advantage as well. I think these guys are going to throw down, and I think somebody's getting caught. And I think this should be a 50-50 fight for that reason. Cutelaba, yes, he has some wrestling upside here, but is he going to hold down and control a much, much bigger Johnny Walker? I don't think so. He wasn't able to control Ryan Spann. He wasn't able to control Dustin Jacoby. He wasn't able to control Devin Clark all that much. I mean, these guys a lot of times are just popping back up. Cutelaba, the wrestling's there, but the control's not. I just find it hard to see him controlling a much bigger Johnny Walker for 15 minutes. So I do have a small shot here on Walker by KO, and I believe I got that at plus 325, and yeah, that line is still there as we speak. Johnny Walker by KO, plus 325, quarter unit on it. I think if Johnny Walker does win, it is by knockout. We've seen Cutelaba hurt multiple times. We've seen him knocked out multiple times, and Johnny Walker obviously has a ton of power. I think it could be early for Johnny Walker, and I think it could be late if Cutelaba does implement that wrestling-heavy game plan and slow down as the fight goes on. So Johnny Walker, quarter unit by KO. Was honestly considering the money line as well, but I really do think, Johnny Walker, if he wins this fight, it's going to be by knockout. I just don't see Johnny Walker winning a decision, and I think a submission's pretty unlikely as well. Johnny Walker, when he is winning, it's by knockout. So, quarter unit on the knockout prop, plus 325. Next, we have Aldana going against Macy Chiasson, and just looking over my bets now, and I did have a decent-sized bet on Kevin Holland. I had a bet on the Holland-Rodriguez over 1.5, and I'm looking at my bets now, and my biggest bet of the night, and it just goes to show how small of a card this is for me. It's a sketchy card, especially with all the madness. My biggest bet of the night's on this fight, as sad as it seems, and that's on Irene Aldana. I have one unit on Irene Aldana, minus 160, and I think it's a really good matchup for her. I love the takedown defense of Aldana sitting at 84%. I love the get-up game of Aldana. If she does get taken down, she's popping right back up. And on the feet, it's Aldana all day. It's not even close. She's the much better striker. I checked out the ceremonial weigh-ins, and they were about the same height. I mean, maybe Aldana like an inch shorter, but usually you see Macy Chiasson just towering over these fighters, and that's just not the case here. Aldana has some decent size on her as well. This fight did get moved to a 140-pound catchweight, which I don't like that for Aldana. I think that absolutely does favor Macy Chiasson, and I did kind of expect something weird to happen at the weigh-ins with Macy Chiasson. She's always missing weight, and she was on her way to missing weight again. She weighed in at 139.5, I believe, for the catchweight, and Irene Aldana weighed in at 137.5. It was like a mutual catchweight, so both Irene Aldana and Chiasson did agree to it, but if I was Irene Aldana, I would probably make Chiasson try to cut that weight, but I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, that favors Chiasson, but still, I mean, this is a good matchup for Aldana. She's going to have the takedown defense, the get-up game, the cardio, the striking, the power. As long as she's not getting held against the cage for 15 minutes, she should be able to win this fight. So yeah, I do like Aldana to win here. I like Aldana to win by decision. Maybe a late finish if Chiasson does gas out. She does slow down as the fight goes on. But yeah, the catchweight kind of worries me a tad. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, or I'd be lying if I said I was happy about that. I'm not really happy about that, but I still do like Aldana to win. One unit, minus 160. We'll see what happens. All right, next we have Daniel Rodriguez going against Jingliang. New matchup here. Of course, D-Rod was supposed to fight Kevin Holland, and the Leech was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson. I think that this is a close matchup. You have the volume of Daniel Rodriguez. You have the power of Jingliang. As far as a pick, I will go on the Daniel Rodriguez side. I do think he's going to be the minute winner. He's going to have the size advantage here. We did see him weigh in around 180 pounds, whereas, of course, the Leech was weighing in around 170 pounds. So there's that going for Daniel Rodriguez. On top of that, the guy lands so much volume, landing over 8 significant strikes per minute. I do think Rodriguez is the better striker, but the Leech has that one X factor, and that's the power. This guy Leech has a ton of power. So you have the volume of D-Rod, the power of Leech. I am leaning with the minute winning ability of Daniel Rodriguez. I'm leaning with him also because he's never been knocked out, only been knocked down once in the UFC. The Leech has been knocked down, I think, 4 or 5 times in the UFC, but he's never been knocked out. I think this does go to decision. I think it's a very fun fight. I do slightly lean with Daniel Rodriguez, but I'm not laying minus 155 on him. I think it's going to be a close fight. So yeah, give me Daniel Rodriguez. No prop stick out. I was considering like the over, but they're kind of all over it. I'm taking a look at it right now. The over 2.5 looks to be, last time I checked, I think it was like minus 160 or so. And I'm just not touching. I mean, that's minus 150. I mean, that's terrifying. That is terrifying because these guys are going to throw down. But I do trust both guys' durability. Over 2.5, if anything, but no bet on this fight. Next, we have Khamzat Chimaev going against Kevin Holland. Chimaev minus 600, Holland plus 425. Chimaev was a massive favorite against Nate Diaz. He was minus 1,800. So this line is a lot closer, and rightfully so. I was saying earlier on my prediction video for this fight, I mean, if this was a 3-round fight, it'd be Chimaev all day, no question about it. I would probably be laying the hammer down on that minus 500, minus 600. But this being a 5-round fight kind of changes things a little bit for me. Like, if Chimaev does not finish Holland within the first 12.5 minutes, 15 minutes, if this fight gets over 2.5 rounds into the fourth, into the fifth, what is this fight going to look like? Obviously, Holland was preparing for a 3-round fight against Daniel Rodriguez, but we know that Kevin Holland's going to have the better cardio here. We saw Chimaev go over 1.5 rounds for the very first time in his career against Gilbert Burns, and he looked tired. He looked very, very tired, but luckily for him, Gilbert Burns was even more tired. Gilbert Burns, typically a guy that does not have the best gas tank as well. So, Could Chimaev go out here and finish Holland in the first 2 rounds? Yes, that is absolutely on the table. But, Holland is very tough, very durable, never been knocked out in 30 professional fights, submitted twice in his career, once against Brendan Allen. So I guess, Chimaev could sub him early, but if this fight does get extended, I think Holland's going to be very live. So this is a fight where I'm going to take a look at it from a live betting standpoint. If we get to that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, I'll be keeping an eye on the line. If I do start to see Chimaev slow down, I'll be taking a look at Kevin Holland live. And I also don't mind like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round sprinkles for Kevin Holland, because if this does get in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round and Chimaev's extremely tired, Holland is going to be there, and he's dangerous as well. So not laying the chalk here on Chimaev. If anything, it's looking at Kevin Holland live, and then also those 3, 4, 5 round sprinkles, they're pretty juicy, if anything, but not a fight that I'm overly interested in from a betting perspective. And then we got the main event, Tony Ferguson going against Nate Diaz. This is one where I do not have a bet on this fight yet, but if I can get Tony Ferguson at plus money, I will highly consider it. We take a look at Tony Ferguson. He's looked rough as of late, and I think people are really down on him, but he's fighting top 5 guys. Michael Chandler, his last time out, got knocked out, got finished by Justin Gaethje, got finished by Chandler and Gaethje, and then also lost decisions to Beneil Dariush, and then lost a decision to the champion Charles Oliveira. Like his last 4 fights, he's losing these fights, but he's fighting the best of the best competition. This is going to be Tony Ferguson's easiest fight in a while against Nate Diaz. And no disrespect to Nate Diaz, but I mean, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, Beneil Dariush, all those guys beat Nate Diaz and beat him really handedly as well. So, I mean, it just comes down to, is Tony Ferguson completely washed and done or not? It kind of looks like it, but again, he's fighting this really good competition, so it's kind of hard to tell. I think it's going to be a close fight, but I do lean with Tony Ferguson. I see it playing out on the feet. You take a look at Nate Diaz since 2014, I think he has 3 takedowns in like the last 8 years. Same thing with Tony Ferguson, 1 takedown in the last like 7 years. So, do I think it'd be smart for really either guy to shoot takedowns here? Yes, it would be. I just don't know if that's going to happen. And so I do think this plays out on the feet for 25 minutes, and if it does, I do favor the striking, the volume of Tony Ferguson. So yeah, I do like Tony Ferguson in this matchup. No bet for me yet. I do like the overs, but it looks like they're all over it. They set the over-under at 4.5 rounds. Good job for them, because I think both these guys are super tough, super durable. I think they have like a combined like 60-something fights, and they've only been knocked out 4 times combined. So yeah, give me Ferguson here, but I'm not going to touch this money line or this fight as of now. If Ferguson does get to plus money, I will be betting Tony Ferguson. I do feel like, obviously Nate Diaz is a fan favorite. I feel like a lot of money might come in on him before the fight. If that is the case, I'll pull the trigger on Ferguson, but it's a close fight. I would slightly lean Ferguson, but I would prefer to have him at plus money. I actually opened up at plus 135, which is nuts, but as of now, at this current price tag, I will be passing. So quickly going over my action for UFC 279. It's a super light card, one of the lighter cards of me for the year. Just a lot of small sprinkles, not a ton sticking out. Sketchy card. Half of my actions on women's MMA. So we'll see what happens. But I like the spots I have. So we'll see. We have Irene Aldana 1 unit minus 160. Elise Reed half a unit plus 148. Dawodu Arosa fight doesn't go plus 120. Almeida wins by KO quarter unit plus 360. Collier wins inside the distance half a unit plus 120. Dumont wins inside the distance half a unit plus 240. Dennis Tuluin scorecards equals no action half a unit plus 110. Weeks wins in either round 3 or decision plus 215 quarter unit on DraftKings. And then Johnny Walker wins by KO quarter unit plus 325. Lots of plus money props. I think all but one of my plays are plus money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bets. 8 of them being plus money. The one laying chalk on Irene Aldana. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the card. I like it more from a fan perspective, I'd say, than a betting perspective. I took an early look into next week. I think next week has a lot more opportunities in terms of making money, but this card's good. I think the new fights make the card much improved, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, guys, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, check out Best Bet going at 2 hours prior to the prelims, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time with MMA Lock of the Night We'll be giving our best bet for each and every fight on the entire card. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. If you have any questions, you can hit me up. Check out DFSbythenumbers.com. Lots of stuff going on behind the scenes, doing a ton of content on there, articles, bets, all that good stuff. So check that out. And yeah, guys, talk to you soon. See you later, and good luck for UFC 279.